Good morning, everybody. It's Pastor John with another edition of Monday Morning Quarterback. So yesterday was Easter. Yesterday was the highest holy day in the life of the church. It was a day that we celebrated that death does not have the final word, does not have the final say, and that ultimately love does win. But there's a couple things that I want to share with you that we didn't get to talk about in the sermon. Quite honestly, when it comes to Easter, we could do 10 more Monday morning quarterbacks and still not cover it all. But there's a couple things I really want to share with you that I didn't get to talk about in the sermon. In Mark's Easter account, the angel tells the women at the tomb, "Go and tell the disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of them to Galilee." Now, there are two important things that I want you to hear in this. The first one is that the angel gives the women a commission, a job, a task, and he gives it to them before they even understand what's going on. They haven't even encountered the risen Jesus yet. They've just seen an empty tomb and have been told by this angel in the tomb. A person dressed in white is usually code for an angel. So they've been told by this angel to go and tell Peter and the disciples he'll go ahead of you to Galilee. So the first thing that tells me is this. Oftentimes in our life, we feel unqualified to do God's bidding. Why would God want me? There are people who can, organize better, talk better. They're more loving, they're more this, they're more that. They're all these things. And technically, that's probably true. There are people more qualified. But for some reason, God calls you. For some reason, God calls me. And God doesn't expect us to get it all together and then go do what God has asked us to do. God just says, no, in the midst of your confusion, in the midst of your questions, in the midst of all of this, go and do, go and serve, go and build my kingdom. So the first thing I want you to realize is that we don't have to wait to be, qualified to do God's will. In fact, there's a saying that, I've heard for many years, God does not call the equipped. God equips the called. And it's the power of resurrection that makes that happen. Second thing I want to kind of remind you of is that just two simple words in that admonition from the angel. He says, "Go and tell the disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee." And Peter. Go tell the disciples and Peter. The angel singles Peter out because Peter had singled himself out by, first of all, his, kind of braggadocious proclamation that, I would never deny you, Lord, and then going in and denying Jesus 3 times on the night of his crucifixion. And so when the angel says, go tell the disciples and Peter, he's signaling that God's grace is for Peter too. I know he's embarrassed. I know he feels he let Jesus down. I know all these things. But tell him to go ahead because God's grace is for him too. And God's grace is greater than anything else on earth. Death can't stop God's grace. The point of these two different things is a reminder that God's resurrection power, God's love, God's grace, they don't depend on us having it all together in order to be enacted in our lives. They depend solely on God. And that's the promise that we have at Easter, that God is with us to the end of the age, and that all we have to do is be faithful, and God will take care of the rest. I hope you had a happy Easter, my friends, and have a wonderful week. God bless.